Joining us now, one of our friends. You, of course, see him all throughout the season on CBS, but during the preseason, he's right here at home as he's part of the Ravens broadcast team and will be down in Dallas on Saturday on WBAL. He is our friend Evan Washburn, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Evan, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, good to be with you guys. Feels like it's football season if we're arguing about a right guard here.
Oh, boy.
August 13th. It's happening. We're there.
That's what we got. I have a quick question first, Evan, because you're slightly younger than I am, but not a ton. We're closer in age. I've got a young person, an intern in studio this morning, who just informed me that, like, college kids don't play flip cup anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, that reaction, your reaction is the same reaction I just had. What the hell has happened to us as a society?
Well, I guess I would only be less disturbed if they've replaced it with something equally, if not more fun.
Essentially,
we're not doing.
Yeah, basically, he just said all they play is the same games that we played when we were in college. Like, it's just, beer pong and, whatever you want to call it, chandelier, king cup. Like, they play all those games. They just specifically don't play flip cup, which.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And was there a reason why?
Yeah, Trevor.
Yeah, I haven't. Not as far as I can tell. Honestly, I could not tell you. I don't know.
You just never started doing it.
Basically, yeah.
That's so weird to me. I'm glad your reaction was the same as mine.
You're missing out. I would say it's not as sort of. It's a bit more aggressive than beer pong and maybe some of the others, but it's the quickest way to get the juices flowing and the competitive spirit alive.
I completely agree on this topic, and you can have more people involved when you play flip cup than when you play.
That's quicker. A game's over, and you can play 2 games and
100%.
It's got 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm glad that you and I could get to the bottom of this topic and shame this young man.
All right, well, it's been good to be with
you. Yeah, right.
Guys.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Evan, I don't know what there is to say about Daniel Faalele. Yeah, he had 2 really bad looks during the Colts game. I don't think Daniel Faalele is an all-pro, but I think he was a stabilizing force for the Ravens a year ago. I also trust the Ravens at the guard position. If they get into the year, it's not working out with Daniel Faalele. My gut is someone they drafted is going to prove to be a capable guard. It's sort of where I am with Andrew Voorhees. These topics concern me. Like, I'm far more concerned about, like, what if Ronnie Stanley were to get hurt again than I am. This is the Ravens in the guard position. If there's something that I have trust in, it's the Ravens in the guard position.
I think it's completely fair. And I was half kidding at the front end of all this, that these are the type of storylines that 30, maybe 29 other teams around the NFL would be dreaming of heading into the season, because this is your biggest concern, that a extremely large human being who's proven capable of playing NFL offensive line is maybe growing into the position as we're still almost a month out from week 1, or a little less than a month out from week 1. So, yeah, be happy where you are, Ravens fans, if this is your biggest concern. That said, it's always going to be one of those areas where I find it's hard for us as even educated fans and talking heads, media, however you want to describe us, to really evaluate, because offensive line, I think, is one of the hardest positions. Yes, if it's obvious the guys get beat, then you may be able to say they had a tough rep or play or game. But over the course of 4 quarters or a few weeks, I tend to lean on those that do it every day and do it for a living, especially at those positions.
Evan, where are you with David Ojabo at this point? And I say that, I haven't written him off, but I do think that the math might not be in his favor. It's easy to say, hey, these are important games for him. I don't even know, short of injury, if there really is a roster spot for David Ojabo.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that play on Thursday night was just unbelievable in terms of, like, bringing echoes back of Bart Scott on Ben Roethlisberger. So you do see, obviously, that's not something you count on week in and week out, and may have been more on the offense than anything Ojabo or the Ravens did defensively. But I think it's a situation where it's a roster that, yes, at that position, while still maybe not completely proven to the elite level, has a lot of options, both in recent draft picks and then obviously the frontline starters in Van Noy and Oweh. So I'm not sure it's as cut and dry as maybe you think it is, but it's definitely an uphill climb. Maybe that's a fair way of characterizing it. And I also think that they seem to, over the years, find ways to make these roster good problems almost work out in their favor via practice squad or finding ways to keep guys around.
We're chatting with Evan Washburn, of course, part of the Ravens broadcast team, and will be in action on Saturday night for Ravens Cowboys down in Dallas. And I agree with what you're saying, and I hope it doesn't come off as me saying I think there's no chance, as much as like I just think there's a practicality problem there, right? And like it's weird because there's also the same part of me that knows the Ravens don't like giving up on early round picks, right? They don't like just losing assets. So I think they're going to choose to value that, but boy, it's hard, particularly with edge rushers, because they just don't play special teams, right? Like it's hard to put David Ojabo on the roster if he's not going to be one of the top guys, in comparison to say like an extra sixth wide receiver or another cornerback who would have a special teams role.
It's completely fair, and I think that it becomes the real discussion point this time of year, where it's all right, what are we doing in these position groups, and it really falls down on special teams. I think that the expansion of the practice squad, does David Ojabo's value across the league, is it something that they would have to be concerned with if they were to put him in a waiver situation? Would he get scooped up immediately? I don't know.
You can't help but think that there's somebody out in Seattle that might be willing to
that's interesting.
That's fair.
Maybe
try to grab
him. Again, similar to the right guard situation.
Right.
Good problem to have, that you have a player who's been through a lot over the course of a couple of years, that at his high end, his ceiling is somebody that absolutely should be on this roster and has shown flashes to make plays. But based off of the depth in that room, and as you laid out, and a lack of special teams availability or productivity, that it becomes your bubble world is real.
Staying on the micro side, Evan, what specifically are you still interested in over the course? And I know that a lot of your work involves interviewing guys, and you don't always get to pay complete attention to every play on the field. But what else are you interested in seeing between now and when the regular season starts on the micro side?
Oof. Man, I wish I had a good answer for you. I mean, really, it's just a kicker.
Yeah. No, I get it. Right.
He's the only guy playing. None of this matters, man. The games really don't matter. And it's a bummer. The preseason, I know I'm probably digging up old stuff of just people saying we got to figure this out, but it really has gotten to a place where the idea that there's three of these things, to me, is unfortunate. Like, the joint practices are where it's at, man. Like that needs to be on TV. That's what fans deserve to be watching Saturday night. And I respect that for a lot of players, it is an important aspect, and that's what we try to do over the course of the broadcast and in some of these small position battles and depth positions. But for what you're asking me and what people really care about, which is what's going on with this team when they square off against Buffalo, and what's happening in November and December when the things really start to turn up. I'm not sure anything coming out of this experience, whether it be Dallas Saturday night, outside of, I do think, watching Tyler Loop and what he's going through, and not just what he physically can do and is capable of in terms of range, but the ups and downs. And we even saw it Thursday when he misses one and then comes back and gets one. Like, his story is going to be one that I think is going to be a really big aspect to this team's season, because they're going to be in huge games and they're going to be in tight games, and he's going to have to do it in critical moments. And not that Saturday or the following Saturday in Washington's going to provide those, but at least we start to get a little feel for what this dude's about.
No doubt. We're going to overanalyze every kick all season, until they either win a Super Bowl or he's not the kicker anymore. We are going to overanalyze this cat, everything he does, and every kick he makes. The macro, of course.
It's going to be fun, too, to see how, because he clearly has a personality and a swagger to him, and and a confidence, but how that grows and permeates its way through the team. And that, again, can't happen until he's doing it in games that really matter and moments that matter. But that's so much part of the DNA of this team, even as potent as they are offensively, the fact that for all these years, they kind of get near that 50.
Yep.
Like it's part of the conversation.
Evan, the macro obviously is the what can we learn about this team that might make the results different in the postseason, and I don't know the answer to that. To me, I've continued to say that like the biggest X factor is Mike Green, because as much as they need to stop turning the ball over in the postseason, they also don't generate big plays typically in the postseason. The Steelers game last year, they did a little bit, but that's really the only game that they've generated any big defensive plays since Lamar Jackson's been the quarterback of this franchise. I don't want to put everything on this young man. He's a second-round pick. That's way too much. But, boy, it has felt like that's been like the big missing piece for this team to me and coming together to be a complete championship team. As good as Kyle Van Noy has been, as good as Dafeoe was last year, they just haven't had a wrecker to make those truly game-changing plays in the biggest games, and I'm kind of watching Mike Green a little bit for that.
That's fun. I like that. And he's going to have to prove that obviously over the course of 17 games and his development. It's going to be much like with Tyler Loop, like one of these rookies that, on a team that's loaded with proven vets and Pro Bowlers and all pros, there are some rookies that are going to need to step up. I think similarly, if you want to stay with that sort of playmaking on the defensive side of the ball theme, I think that's where that back end becomes so interesting too. And as we often hear, the rush marries the coverage and all those things. So Mike Green and Owe and Van Noy and everybody getting after the passer is important. But the addition of Jair Alexander and Malachi, his development, keeping with that rookies idea, I view those guys as playmakers. I mean, they make plays, and Marlon does what he does, and Nate Wiggins can also do that. But I think maybe some of those new pieces and additions to a secondary with Kyle Hamilton, who's that ultimate chess piece, keeping with your idea that if that's kind of going to help you get over the hurdle on top of not turning the ball over, those are guys to ID as well. But I think more keeping that macro theme, and yes, playmaking is important, but it's really just about making sure you're back in the mix. And that's what's so challenging when talking about this Ravens team, and it's what people in Buffalo also have to deal with. You can't rush the process as much as I think everybody would want to, just from an entertainment standpoint. Like, can we just get to January already? And the fact that it's only August 13th makes that really challenging. The season does provide the natural kind of momentum, and there'll be enough drama, both positive and negative, to keep everyone engaged. But the reality is, not to the degree as none of it matters in the preseason, but in some respects, the regular season has that too.
It's so weird, right? Like, it's such a weird thing where I try to, and I know John Harbaugh got a lot of flack for what he said to Ryan and Garrett about his response to the Super Bowl or bust thing, and I was like, I do want to hear the coach say, hey, all we care about is winning Super Bowl. I do think that's what the organizations say. But all of us that are living it know how fortunate we are that we get to watch Lamar Jackson play football every Sunday, right? Like, we need to remember that, like, even if you're a fan and you're frustrated that they haven't won a championship, this is better than what it's been like to be a football fan in Tennessee or insert any number of places. Or, those of us that grew up and didn't have a football team, right? Like, we have to be able to take joy in that. But there's no doubt, everything that we watch, we're watching with that thought of, but what is it going to be in the postseason? Like, it's just the reality of what's going on here.
Consistency when it doesn't include a Super Bowl,
right,
is boring. Or Super Bowl appearances, it can become boring for fan bases and even those that cover teams, because sometimes the variance, the roller coaster, creates this joy and then this complete sort of despair, and then the build back up, all those things. I mean, this is what makes storytelling so engaging. And as much as this is real life, it is also the high drama that is reality television on display when it comes to the NFL. And that's what I respect and look at from John Harbaugh's perspective as probably his greatest challenge amongst all the things he's got to do running this organization or this team, is he has to make sure that his players, his coaches don't get caught up in this idea, this mounting pressure that if we don't win a Super Bowl, then this season's considered a failure. Because you can feel that tension with this team the last couple of years, whether it was in an AFC Championship game or last year in Buffalo. And I think if nothing else this season, they've got to find a way to ride the wave without it becoming this mounting tension and solely focusing on the end game and the result. And that's going to be the hardest thing, because it's going to be in their ear and in front of their face every step along the way. And that's what's going to be required to kind of push through.
You're 21 again. You're in the Delaware lacrosse house. Your life is on the line. You have to win one drinking game. What is the game that you are going with?
Oof. I mean, Flip Cup's on the mind. I realized that, and this is not the, since it was Trevor, right? Is it Trevor?
Yes, young Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor, you're not playing this, but if you ever do, make sure that there's some beer on the table so it adheses when the flip. That was always the key, because you flip it on a dry, slick table.
Yeah, you got that risk. That's a great point. That's
but if you put a little some beer down or even some water down, then that cup it grabs it. So when you kind of had that magic going, that was as fun as it got. But look, you can't go wrong with beer pong. As a pseudo athlete, or at least attempting to be one for much of my life, there was some, and a basketball player, like there was some fun to that. So I think to answer your question, as fun as Flip Cup is, and it's disappointing that this younger generation just continues to disappoint us.
Correct.
But
let us down.
Can't go wrong with some beer pong.
Evan Washburn, Saturday night, Ravens Cowboys on WBAL. Always appreciate you, brother. We will talk to you very soon. Thank you for taking the time.
Got it. Good to be with you, Glenn. See you, fellas.